What did I think I was going to be when I grew up? Of course, a ninja. That's impossible. That seems like a dream. I didn't know if I was making a difference or, fulfilling my purpose. Yes, we are a community. That wheel you saw me doing, I would carry that with me everywhere I went. It's 20 kilos or something. I'm walking around with it on my shoulder everywhere I went. And anytime I had time in between, lunch break at work, I would practice every single day. Just like you were saying, you wished the GenIQ would be the podcast that you wish you had when you were 16. It's the advice that I wish I had when I was 16.
Today's guest on GenIQ is Marcus, an acrobat, performer, entertainer, husband, and a father who has spent thousands of hours perfecting his art and bringing joy to audiences across the world. But that's not why we invited him. We first came across Marcus while watching one of his performances. At the end, he said something that was meaningful and powerful in many ways and aligned perfectly with GenIQ's message. He told a group of kids that although he had a degree, he consciously chose to become an artist because he believed the world needs artists too. That sentence in itself is fascinating because GenIQ is not really about what people do for a living. It is about understanding why people choose the paths they do, what they have sacrificed along the way, and what they've learned about life because of it. This conversation turned into so much more than a discussion about acrobatics. It was about purpose, childhood dreams, discipline, fear, identity, serving others, and what it really means to build a meaningful life. Welcome to GenIQ, the podcast I wish I had at 16.
Marcus.
Yeah, Paul.
Before we start, can I tell you why I asked you to come and speak to me today?
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you about that. I don't even know what your whole thing is.
Okay, well, let me just tell you that. So I watched you perform in about March, I think, and right at the very end of the show, you're literally hanging off this 5-meter pole upside down, and you had a message for the kids. And you say something along the lines that I have a degree, but I chose to be an artist because the world needs more artists. And we're all part of a really large community, something along those lines. And that really stuck with me, and I was super curious all of a sudden, and I'm like, I need to understand this person. I want to speak to them, and I really want to understand where they're coming from. Because GenIQ, this is the podcast that I wish I had at 16, is all about understanding how people consciously choose to live their life rather than drifting into them. So that's basically what it's all about. So I look at you and I go, this person had a degree and he's chosen to work as an acrobat, chosen a career that's a really, really conscious choice.
Yeah.
So it was all aligned with the mission that I have.
Yeah, right.
So you obviously remember saying that?
Of course, I know exactly what I said. Yeah.
Could you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I say. I say, this is my full-time job. I'm letting everyone know who I am. This is my full-time job. I know it may not seem that glamorous. I'm on the street, working on the street. But you know what? I love what I do. I did go to university. I got a degree in linguistics. When I first started doing this, street performing, I didn't know if it was worthwhile. I didn't know if I was making a difference or, fulfilling my purpose or, I was like, is it good? Is it a good thing? But then the longer and the longer I did it, the more I realized is that, yes, we are a community. We're a community. Everybody relies on everybody else. You can't take one piece of the puzzle out. We need all sorts of different people, and the world does need artists too. And the reason that is part of my little speech is because I, just like you were saying, you wish the GenIQ would be the podcast that you wish you had when you were 16. It's the advice that I wish I had when I was 16, because if I think about it, I really kind of always knew that I wanted to work with my body, do something athletic, I wanted to perform, I wanted to make art, but I never knew that was an acceptable trajectory. It was never encouraged for me. I was always told, you need to get a degree.
Yep.
You go and you get a job and you do this and you have to do the cookie cutter kind of way to live life. And there's a good reason for that. It's not that my parents weren't encouraging me to, follow my dreams. Thing is, my father is the first person like in our family to go to college, and he got a 2-year degree, and he ended up doing electronic engineering, and he had a nice job, and he worked in the same company from when he was 17 years old. But something happened to him is that he was probably the most qualified person in his company, but he would get passed over for promotions and things because he didn't have the 4-year degree. So he took that lesson and said, you've got to get a 4-year degree, because in his mind, the way they grew up, it was like, this is how you're going to do better than I did.
Yep.
This is how you're going to get ahead. You have to, just having that degree, can make a difference. And so I was really pressured into going to school, even if I didn't know what I wanted to go for. And they didn't care what I wanted to study. They just wanted me to get that degree. But as a child, I remember there was a time I was watching the American version of like ABC. It was like PBS or something. And there was this one week where they were playing Cirque du Soleil shows on the program, and they were playing it like on repeat, or like they were playing it, I don't know if it was like the same time every day, or they were just playing it back to back to back. I remember sitting in my room and watching this Cirque du Soleil show and going, oh man, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. I felt it. I was like, I could do that. Like, but then I was like, no, that's impossible. That seems like a dream. Like only a certain kind of person could do that. Someone who's, raised in Russia and taught from when they were a little kid specifically, to do this thing. Normal people can't go and become a circus artist, So I dismissed it, and I thought, okay, I've got to go to university. But I never knew what I wanted to go for.
Right.
So I've got a lot more to say, but I feel like I'm just now
No.
going.
I'm super curious about this stuff, man. I always like to understand a person before their profession. Okay.
Yeah.
So you, Marcus, as a person. So let me now go back before the performer, before the traveling, because obviously you've traveled countries, as you said. And obviously before your degree, who is little Marcus?
Okay. So I'm American. I'm from America, and my mom immigrated from Japan. Japanese American and American. So the reason I bring that up is because it did affect like growing up. So I was an athlete, competitive from when I was 5 years old. I was into wrestling, was my main sport in America. Like Olympic style wrestling, not like elbow slam to the
Not WWE.
And I did all the sports. My parents had me doing all the sports, but my main one that I was competitive and took seriously was wrestling. And I did some martial arts. My dad did karate, and he's a 2nd degree black belt in Okinawan Goju-ryu karate. So we into the martial arts, into athletics and wrestling. So I was always very physical. And then the Japanese part is like, I always thought it was like really cool, like my mom is just like, she's Japan, so I had this like all these, dreams of Japan, ninjas and like, Dragon Ball and samurais and all that stuff. So when I was a little kid, what did I think I was going to be when I grew up? Of course, a ninja.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted, and I got into my head when I was young that like I know ninjas aren't like a real thing, or if they are, you're an assassin, you have to kill people. I didn't want to do that, but just that fantasy of like, being a ninja, right? So I want the idea of mastery over yourself physically, and so with that in mind, by the age of like 12 years old, I was like exercising and trying to learn how to like, walk on my hands and flip around and trying to sneak up on my dad. And that was the ideal that I had in my mind, was to try to master my body to, become a ninja, doing parkour and stuff, running and flipping and and
crazy.
and I wanted to travel, and I had traveled. I think that's where I got the bug for traveling as well, is like by the time I was 15 years old, I had been to Japan, several times. And I just saw that there's, so much in the world to see in different cultures. And I just wanted to see as much of it as I could.
By the way, I've always been super fascinated about Japan. It's one country that I would absolutely love to visit one day, because I just love the culture. My favorite movie ever is The Last Samurai. Not that I watch a lot of movies, but that's my favorite movie. You kind of touched on it already, but I just wanted to ask you, were you always this adventurous? Because when you were saying about ninja, I could almost see you hanging off the side of the pole, with your hands, and then legs are hanging out the other way.
Yeah.
So were you always this adventurous?
Yeah, I must have been giving my parents heart attacks, all the time, for sure. I was always like that. And it gave me, it's like a combination. Like I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so, I really love the outdoors. So everything, from hiking, to, martial arts and wrestling and flipping and fighting and all that. But yeah, I was always pretty hectic. Like I took up, and it never stopped, because I took up rodeo bull riding at 37 years old, and I still do it. And
oh wow,
yeah, and people are like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? You trying to go out there and become famous or make money?" I'm like, "No, it's my hobby. I'm not even that good at it, but it's a thrill. It's something I just have adrenaline, fixation, I guess."
Yeah, so adrenaline junkie.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we know now that you have a degree.
Yeah.
So you could have chosen that path.
Yeah.
But you decided to consciously choose a different path.
Yeah.
So when did that transition happen?
Okay, so I went to junior college straight from high school, just to get it's a common thing you do in America. You go to a junior college for a couple of years, get all the prerequisites out of the way. It's cheaper than going straight to a big university, and you do 2 years, you get all your basic stuff out of the way. Then you go to a university, and you typically do 2 more years once you've chosen your path, where you're going to get a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science. What's your major going to be? You can typically choose that in your third year. So I did in between the first 2 years. So I went to the junior college, then I went to Japan. And I studied at a language school in Japan to learn Japanese. I was there for 1.5 years. Then I came back when I got accepted to the university. But I didn't know what my major, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was lost. I think, if I could do it again, I would have went to a circus school or focused fully on developing my, acrobatics or fighting or, something physical. I think would have been more in line. But I knew I had to go to university, but I didn't have any idea of what the future was going to be. I couldn't see myself working at a desk. I didn't know what was important to me. So I chose the major, environmental science, resource management, because I thought, okay, look at the way the world's going. I don't know what I want to do, but this seems like something that's going to be important. Environmental science, so I'll go that way. I started studying that, and I got probably a year into it, and partner that I was with at the time, I was kind of struggling with it. I was good at school, but like I was having a hard time at the time, and my partner at the time said, "Why are you uh, you're struggling studying this environmental science resource management, but I see you on your free time and you're reading about psychology and sociology and learning about language and culture." She's like, "Why don't you study something you want to study? Um, Instead of doing something that's hard work for you, do something that's fun for you." And that made me think about it. I was like, okay, well, hey, it was a little bit scary because I was like, okay, this is a good path. There's certain jobs, I know what kind of jobs you can get with this path. And with an arts degree, it's a little harder, but I started looking into it. I was like, you know what? Okay, I will change my major. And I changed my major to linguistics because I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I knew that I liked to study it.
Yep.
So I went that way. And let me tell you, my 4-year degree took me 10 years to get, okay? Because I took a year off here. I took a semester off there. I came back. I switched my degree. I failed some classes. I was working the whole time. So it was a long process.
Yeah.
I did not graduate university until I was 28, and I started at 18. I took a year off to go study language, and it was a long time. I tell everyone I was in school long enough to become a doctor, but I got a Bachelor of Arts. Yeah, I changed my major. I did that, and when I finally getting this degree was kind of hanging over my head, I felt like I needed to fulfill that obligation for my parents. And when I was finally did, it was like this weight was like off my chest.
Wow. Okay.
And it was like, okay, I did it. I did it for them. I did it for me. I don't regret going to school, but I was like, now I do what I want to do.
Yep.
And I wanted to travel. That was the main thing, is I wanted to travel. And so studying linguistics was great for me for that because, I studied Japanese, Thai. I learned a bit of Spanish on my own. But I was pretty good at learning languages. So I thought, I want to see the world. And I was working 3 different jobs at the time. I'd work, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And I was partying a lot too, and like being irresponsible and stuff. But, I was working my butt off for 6 months at a time every day to save some money so I could go on a trip for like 2 weeks or a week here, go to China, go to Germany, and I was getting exhausted. And I was like, man, I want to travel, and I want to be able to maybe try to make money while I'm away. Like, so I didn't want to be a little like 1 week tourist, nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to get into the culture,
Yeah.
And at the same time, this is kind of like happenstance. Like I had a friend who was like, hey, I just took this class, this thing, it's called Acro Yoga, Partner Acro Balance. There's this little class going on. I think you'd really like it. You should try it. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I don't know. And eventually I went to this class and it was really cool. And I got into it. It's called Partner Acro Balance or Acro Yoga or whatever you want to call it. L basing. One person, a base, like lays on the ground, stick your feet up in the air. And then another person balances on your feet and you're like twisting them around, moving them around, going into all these different positions, balancing them on your hands. And it's really cool. It's like acrobatic, but it's not like explosive. It's like it's like yoga. It's like a slow, flowy movement, but with a partner and incorporating, that balance and tricks and things. And I got really into it. And in that class, there was some people that were like circus artists. And one of them came up to me one day. We, kind of made friends and stuff. And she said to me, "Hey, I perform for this circus theater circus theater group here in Seattle. And we're about to have auditions. And I think you should audition." And I was like, "What? Me? No, I couldn't do that. What?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I think you could." I'm like, "I haven't been trained." I was like, "I taught myself everything, And she's like, "No, I see how you move.
Yeah.
You should just audition." And I was like, "Well, all right, I'll go to the audition." I went to the audition and they were blown away. And because I was like tumbling, I was like doing round off backflips and corkscrews and all this different stuff that I just taught myself. And before the audition had even ended, they were like, "We want you to join." They were telling everyone else, they're like, "We're going to have callbacks, you'll hear from us in a week."
Yeah.
But they took
Yeah.
me to the side and they were like,
Yeah. You're on.
"We want," yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." It's not like, it wasn't like a thing, you got paid for. It was like, you got paid, but what you got paid wouldn't even cover the cost for the petrol you paid to get to the rehearsals. But it was great because the equipment, the training, the people that they had available for you, that like, it was really nice production, and that's where I started getting training, because they were like, "Look, you're doing all this stuff and we don't know how you're doing it because your technique is so bad, but you're just like doing it anyways."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, well, I taught myself." And they're like, "Okay, we're going to teach you how to do it the right way."
Yeah.
So that's where I first started getting training. And I realized, like, yeah, I love this. This is, I wish I could get paid to do this. And so that went on for, several months or half a year or something. We finally did our show. And by the end, I'm thinking, I want to do this. And so for a while, I wanted to go that direction, but I was half in, half out. I was like, I can't just quit my jobs. I need to pay my bills. So I was trying to get into this like circus world while staying where I was, like to be safe. And in 2015, towards the end of 2015, it was like New Year's resolutions. And I was thinking, no, it was the beginning of 2015 and the end of 2014. And I was like, you know what? My New Year's resolution is, by the end of this year, I want to make money doing something that I love to do, not just working at the restaurant, working at the bar, the nightclub. I want to do something I love to do. So I'm going to go try to do this circus stuff. And I tried for all of 2015. I got a gig here or there, but I couldn't figure. I was like, how do you turn this into a career? I had no idea, no one to teach me. So November rolls around and I'm no closer to my goal. I said, by the end of 2015, I'm going to be making a living doing this. November rolls around, I'm no closer, and I go, you know what? I'm going to jump all the way in. So I quit all my jobs.
Wow.
And said, I'm going to either sink or swim.
Yeah.
So, and that's when everything changed. I started street performing, not making hardly any money at all, but barely enough to get by. So then I started traveling around with a backpack on a bus and street performing, and I got better and better at it. And through street performing, people would see me and I would get gigs. And I just traveled around doing that for a year. And by the end of a year, this is another part of the story I'll get to. I'll wrap this part up real quick. By the end of the year, I had kind of worked out the kinks, and then I would no longer was just scraping by.
Okay.
It took me a year to really get off of the like vagabond backpack, and then I was actually like making a living. But I was practicing and working like every single day, hours every day for a year. And the year leading up to it, before I had quit my jobs, I practiced every single day. That wheel you saw me doing, I would carry that with me everywhere I went. It's 20 kilos or something. I'm walking around with it on my shoulder everywhere I went. And anytime I had time in between lunch break at work, I would practice. I would practice every single day.
That's a lot of commitment. So when was a light bulb moment? Was it while you were traveling, when you went, nah, linguistics is not for me? Because obviously that was, I guess I have 2-part question here. So one part question is, when was a light bulb moment? And you mentioned something important earlier, was you did the degree for your parents.
Yeah.
Now, was that a cultural thing, or was that just a family thing?
Okay, so getting the degree, I don't know if there was as much pressure on me as
much as you
I
took it.
felt, but I put it on me. But I felt like there was the pressure on me. I felt like it was an obligation that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's cultural as far as like Japanese or American or what, but I think it comes down to the experience that my parents had, and in their worldview, you can't get very far, without getting the degree. So, they wanted me to be successful, whatever that means. Yeah.
Yeah, like you explained earlier.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Your dad's experience.
Yeah, and the light bulb moment, I think at first, the light bulb moment. Well, I just started getting this, like the feeling, the passion that I felt when I got into that theater group. I felt like I want to do this, but I didn't know how to make it happen. And so eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to dive in. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to try wholeheartedly, not half and half. And that's when everything changed. And I started traveling, and I was having a great time. The circumstances are, I was traveling. I wasn't making much money, but I was making totally enough for a single guy traveling around, with a backpack. And then I was in Hawaii, and I met my wife. So she ended up going back to Australia, and then I went to Australia to visit. There's a lot of story here, actually. I went to Australia to visit. From Australia, I went to Ireland for a friend's wedding, and I performed there while I was there. And then I tried to come back to Australia. But on my way in, they didn't let me in because they're like, why are you coming back in here? You're on a one-way ticket. Where's your money? How are you going to? I was like, oh, my girlfriend, we're going to stay here. And then I'm leaving soon. Don't worry, But they're like, okay, whatever. Let me look at your phone. They saw that the first time I had come here, I was street performing. And they're like, you're making money. You were making money on a tourist visa. So they put me in a detention center for 3 days, made me go back home, and put me on a 3-year tourist visa ban from Australia. And then my current wife, was Sarah, and she was my girlfriend then. She came to see me in America. And so we started traveling around, and I was supporting us by street performing. I made my way down to New Orleans. And in New Orleans, this is kind of a lot to explain, but there's lots of different kinds of street performing. There's something called a walk-by act or a trickle act, which is what you see musicians do. You're playing music, and you've got a little box in front of you to collect tips, maybe a sign or something, but you're just doing your thing. And people walk by, and if they like it, they drop in a gold coin or $1. In America, no gold coins, but you're dropping in money. And so the money trickles into your little box. So that's called a trickle act or a walk-by act. Because people walk by, and they tip you if they like it. And then you have different categories. So then what I do now, what you've seen, is called a circle act, where you get an audience, and you try to get them. You can do a half circle act, or you can get a circle act where the audience is all the way around you. You only collect money at the very end, and you ask them for money. Which is a very awkward thing to learn. It's so weird. But so at the time, this whole time I was traveling around the States, and in Hawaii, I was doing a walk-by act. I was playing music, I was spinning my wheel, and I was doing it hours every day, and people were putting money in the tip jar. When I got to New Orleans, there was other street performers there, and there's only one real spot where the big acts were performing. And so I performed there, but they're like, it's rough in New Orleans. It's very it's kind of a rough place. And so
Okay.
these guys were like, hey man, you can't do this here. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna make me stop?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you got your time, I'm getting my time. And they're like, yeah, but you can't do it like that. They're like, you have to do a show. They're like, this is not the spot to do a walk by act. This spot is to do shows.
Yeah.
And they're like, you need to do a show. Get out of here. And I'm like, they're like, look, you're gonna make more money. They're like, I promise you, this is gonna be better for you. You need to do a show, a circle show. You know, like, you have to do it.
So they were trying to help you.
They were definitely helping me.
Yeah.
But it was tough love, you know,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because at that same time, Sarah got pregnant. So I'm finding out, oh my God, I'm going to be a dad. I'm not making enough money. And these guys are going, you need to do a show. You're going to make more money. And I'm like, okay. I got to do a show. I want to do a show, but I didn't know how to do it. But it was basically do it or get out of here.
Yeah.
And so with their help, tough help, I was out there trying to do shows. I tried to do 6 to 10 shows a day. I would try every single day. And it took me a month. And by the end of the month, I had developed this show that was working. And it was a proper circle act. And they're like, all right, you did it. Good. Welcome. You know?
Yeah.
And I did. I made a lot more money doing that. And then, so like just coinciding when I needed more money, I started making more money.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how it works sometimes.
Yeah. You rise, you know, to the level of like your responsibility or where you push yourself. From there, man, life changed after that. It was like, she was coming back and forth from Australia to here. I couldn't come to Australia or to America. I couldn't come to Australia. So we were trying I was on a band. Yeah. So we were working, trying to get my visa, trying to, you know, get a prospective marriage visa, fiance visa, whatever you want to call it. And, I developed this show and I've just been doing it ever since. Yeah.
Ever since. And you enjoy it, obviously. Oh, you love it.
I love it. Yeah. But and that is where it comes into as well, is like, bring it back to what I said at the beginning. I do love it. And I do what I love to do. And I'm trying to stop people on the street, random strangers. I'm trying to convince them to stop and spend 30 minutes with me, laughing at my dad jokes. And you know, it's to do this as a job is a really weird thing because, you know, you're out there going, everyone look at me. I'm awesome. I'm so good. It's really a strange feeling to be like that cocky, you know, be like.
Is that your personality?
I'm confident.
Generally?
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident, you know, I mean, I don't think I could do it. It's in me. Obviously, otherwise I couldn't be so good at it. But to go on the street, stop people, and then ask them for money, it's so awkward. The first couple times it's like, hey, did you like my show? Please give me money, you know? And like, it's a not intuitive thing to do. But as you learn, when you first start, you're just trying to entertain, you're trying to impress people.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over the years, I've been doing this for 10 years now. Now I know the goal is not to impress people. The goal is to entertain people. And the real goal is connection. Connection. Look, I'm out there. I'm trying to make money. Okay? That's my job. Really, I'm trying to make money. If I can, I'm trying to make people smile and laugh. And I'm trying to create motivation. But I'm trying to make money. And fortunately, the way to make money is by creating connection. You know, there's different kind of performers out there. Some people try to twist your arm or guilt trip you. You know, you've seen a performer like that. Yeah. Oh, guys, you watched me for 25 minutes. You owe me, you know, basically like this feeling like you got to pay me. Yeah. My goal is I want you to want to pay me. I'm not begging you. Here's another lesson you learn is you give. You have to give. And when you give, then you get. Wow. So if I go out there have been times in my career when I'm like, I'm hard up on money. I got to pay the bills. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, if I don't make enough money today, if I don't make enough money this week, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go out there and I'm really stressed and I'm like, I got to do a good show right now. I have to do a good show. I've got to get these people to pay me. It doesn't work. You have you have to go. You'll make a certain amount. If you just walk through the steps, you'll make a certain amount.
Yeah.
But to really do a good job, you have to change your mindset to don't think about the money. Think about giving a good experience.
Yeah.
If I can give a good show, if I can give a good experience, if I can have a connection, then the money comes. So, if you just in it, it makes a big difference. Your mindset.
Yeah.
If I go out there thinking I need to make money, versus how happy can I make these people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people could probably feel that energy, right?
Oh yeah.
When you're not 100%, you've got something little bug in there that's like preventing you from being your 100%.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, there's something in our psychology somewhere that we can read body language.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And obviously we can also read the guilty trippers as well, right? Like if somebody had asked me, I don't think I'll ever pay.
Yeah.
That's just
yeah,
me
yeah.
personally, okay? And I'm not saying that works for everybody, but it just doesn't work for me. In my psychology, it's like, you shouldn't have asked.
Yeah.
But then other times, like your show, I connected with the show. I really, really enjoyed the show. And I'm like, yeah, he's invested years of his life trying to fine tune his art. And I'm like, well, I've got to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And money is an object then.
Yeah.
Where you're trading. So I'm basically in that moment, I'm trading my appreciation for your art with that money.
Yeah.
And if it helps you, great. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is what you say about the asking thing. And I know you kind of mentioned it in a different way, but here's another thing that I have learned through this is, when it is so awkward to ask somebody for money, but you know what? If you don't ask, you don't get. And that's the thing. You have to ask for what you want. And I'll tell you, if I do my show and if I make one little difference, if I do my show and I get up there and I give my nice message to everybody, and then I say, guys, at the end of the show, if you can afford it, if you enjoy the show, please give me a donation.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
But it works better if you're specific. Like, tell them really what you want. Okay. So if I say, just as an example, guys, if you enjoyed the show, could you please give a donation at the end? That would mean so much to me. That's really nice. It's really nice. But if I say, hey, you guys, if everybody here that enjoyed the show, if everyone gave me $10 or $20, that would blow my mind. That's how I take care of my fam. That'd be so nice. I'm letting you know specifically, $10 or $20 is a really nice donation. You don't have to give me that much. I'll be just as appreciative if you give me 5 or 1 or 2 or whatever. But putting that out there, it lets them know, and then I make a joke. Hey, would you like, if you could give me 10 or 20 bucks, that'd be amazing. Not everybody does that. Some people, they're going to walk away and they're not going to pay. To be honest, 80% of people don't pay.
Wow.
But, and then you make a joke, hey, maybe some of you could give me a 50, and I let them know it's a joke. I don't expect you to give me $50. That's a lot of money. Okay. I can't give a street performer $50. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
But some people can afford that. And people do. People give it to me. And the point I'm trying to make is, as long as you're not pushing, it is okay and it's good to ask for, it feels so cringe at first. And maybe people listening might think, man, you've got the balls to tell people, oh, you should give me $10 or $20 or $50.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot, man. That's a bit rude,
to
tell someone how much to give you.
Yeah.
But if you can do it in a nice way, then they know, man, this would really make this man really happy, or like this would really help him, and then they want to do it. And there's something to be said for asking for what you want. Oh, I get really emotional. Like I was almost gonna tell you when I came in here, like I might cry. Like it's like
Go for it.
when I
I'll
talk
cry with you, bro.
when I talk about my kids or my passion or so I'm trying not to, but I do.
I cry.
Yeah.
Why can't we cry?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm a crier, man.
Yeah,
I do,
man.
yeah, I do.
100%. You're an artist. You're an emotional person, I think. So I just wanted to just quickly mention on that point about asking money. What I found was the way you are, offering the donations is different though. Like that's not coming from a place where you're forcing someone.
Yeah.
That's just coming from a place where, hey, look, if you did appreciate the show, this is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And that's a very clear message to my head where I go, okay, like that's fine. And like I said before, I appreciate your art and that's my exchange in terms of money. But then there are, obviously different artists out there that are, their way of asking is different. So I just wanted to say that I do appreciate the way you ask, and especially when you add humor to it.
Yeah, you have to. You can make someone laugh while you're asking them for money.
Yeah, like your wife and the charity thing. Oh my God, no, that was a piece of. It was so funny. That's so funny.
A lot of guys can relate. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say as well, like if they come across, like a street performance and they might walk away going, wow, that was really good, or that was better than I expected, or yeah, that was all right, or whatever. But one thing that I didn't know, and it's taken me years to learn, is it's so nuanced. It's so deep. There's like a formula for every mannerism, everything you say, the way you ask, I have a script, but like also you have to read each audience and you work it differently. But there's a lot that goes into it. For instance, you have an audience, which is, if you're lucky, 100, 200, 300 people, whatever, or 50 people even, doesn't matter how many people. What you start with is individuals. And my job is to turn individuals into a group. So that's the whole thing behind me going, hey, you guys having fun? Say yeah. And then everyone goes, yeah. That's the moment you turned individuals into a group.
Yeah.
You get them to act together, to answer your questions, to it's also like business sales tactics, get the yes. Like, are you guys having fun? Yes. Can you help me? Yes. Like you got to make the connection, but you're also using like psychology. Like every word you say can make a difference in the show for sure.
Yeah. I think what you're saying about business psychology there, I think it goes a little bit older, I think, in the sense that, your inherent Japanese samurai might be coming out. That's like hurting your arm. It's like, are you ready to go? Yeah, let's go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just picturing that in my head.
So people are I'm performing on Cavill Avenue. People are out there with their families, with their partners, with their friends, and they're walking down the street, and what I'm doing as a performer is I'm giving them permission to step outside of the normal thing, their normal attitude. They're walking down the street like this, looking for shopping, food, whatever. And then I get them to come around and laugh and go, yeah. People, they want to have a good time, act like a kid, laugh and go, woo, but they're, if you see my audience, you get big guys with, mustaches and tattoos, and they're going like this. And by the end of the show, I've got them going, it's, they need an excuse. They don't necessarily need an excuse, but I want to give them an excuse to like let loose.
Loosen up a bit. Yeah. Life is too serious otherwise, right? Yeah. So Marcus, you're someone that loves movement.
Yeah.
You're obviously moving on the pole, on the ring, and on top of a 5-meter post. What made you fall in love with the movement?
Really, it does go back to me being that 5-year-old kid thinking ninja, I'm thinking these people can master they can, you know, hide and sneak and move silently and do, you know, in my mind, as a 5-year-old, you know, mind, like you can do whatever you want to do with your body, right? And it also, like with the circus artists, it's the same thing. It's just, I don't know what, just a feeling, I guess. I got into athletics young, and I just really, it feels good for me to be able to master my body, you know, and proprioception. So like even magic. So if you see a sleight of hand artist doing tricks with cards or coins, and they're doing stuff, and you're like, it's magic, right? But it's not magic. They have mastered a specific slight little movement so that they can do something that tricks your mind, you know, like, because you can't believe how sensitive their fingers are, you know, they would be able to just, I used to practice magic for a bit. I was never really good, but I practiced it, and I enjoyed it for the same reason that I enjoy acrobatics, because it takes really clever, a lot of repetition and practice, just like any sport, to be able to move this thing like so subtly, you know, that you can trick someone else, you know. Pickpocketing, there's such a thing as like theatrical pickpocketing. Like I used to play with that as well. It's just, for me, it's, you can do anything. Playing piano, everything is, you know, when you play the piano, oh, you see someone play like a real piano player playing some Mozart or something, the mastery, the way they can so precisely and quickly moving this hand this way, that hand a different way, moving over, the keys are all next to each other. I'm just learning to play piano now. So it's like, but just to move your hands like that, it takes a lifetime of practice, you know? And so like, to me, it's always just been this like amazing skill. I can see the art in, you know, if you master a paintbrush, or if you, whatever you do, it takes so much practice, focus, skill, dedication. It's amazing to me.
The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the sacrifice. Okay, so you must have done some sacrifices in your life. So the audience is looking at Marcus the acrobat. They see the performance, but they don't know the prize. You know, the relationships, injuries, like you talk about. You know, you said you have young family, a lot of time that goes into your practice. Like, man, you're crazy fit. And you're like, I look at you when you perform, and I'm like, man, where's the fat on his body? Right. So obviously that also takes a certain amount of dedication just to keep fit. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Exactly the same age. My knees hurt. I've got a broken. Anyway, I can go on about my injuries. I couldn't do what you're doing, even if I trained for like 5 years. So obviously that comes with a lot of dedication and sacrifice. So what do you have to, what have you had to sacrifice?
Okay, I'm gonna answer a question that's you didn't ask, but it's very similar. I would say one thing I would say about doing what you love and turning it into a job, or like what there's a lot of talk online these days, you know, about, you know, it's the hustle culture, or the side hustle culture. And it's kind of a shame these days. Everyone's taking their hobbies and they're trying to monetize them. You know what I mean? It's because it's hard times. People need to make money. So, you know, in the past, maybe you would have a 9-to-5 job and make plenty of money, and then you would have this hobby on the side that you do purely for enjoyment. But now, these days, you've got a job, and if you've got a hobby and you're good at it, you got to try to hustle it. You know what I mean? So one thing for me, turning what you love to do into your job is a double-edged sword. So one thing I sacrificed is I'm spinning in this wheel. I'm doing acrobatics for work. So do you think on my day off, I'm going to go and do it for fun? I'm tired, man. I got 3 kids. I got a horse, 2 ponies, 3 cows, 25 chickens. I don't have time to just spin my wheel for fun. You know, I don't have time to do it to just try to get better. Like if I wasn't doing it as a job, I'd probably be a lot better at it because I would be able to spend time practicing to improve. But now what I got to do is when I do my job, I have to be safe and I have to make sure everyone around me is safe. So I can only do what I know 110% I will never mess up. So there's not a lot of room to experiment or to just, sometimes I'd like to go out there and just express myself, and just have fun. Like think about dancing, okay? You got a dance routine. And when you go out and you do this dance routine step by step the same way, you're going to make a lot of money. But if you go out there and just turn on some music and just get into it, and then you're not going to make much money. So unfortunately, you have to make money to support your family. So you're taking time away from like this passion. I'm fortunate. I do love what I'm doing, but it's different. So I do the same show every time. It's the same jokes. It's the same lines, but it's interesting for me because the challenge is the audience. Every audience is different. The challenge for me now is the connection. So yes, when you take something you love to do and you make it your job, then you don't get to do it just when you want to do it. Now you have to do it even when you don't feel like doing it. That's the hard part. So I've had a fight with my wife, or I had a cold, or I'm just not feeling very good today, but I got to go to work, then I got to go out there and try to make people laugh, which is nice because if I don't feel like laughing and then I know I got to go out there and try to make people laugh, you got to get into a certain mindset for that. So it'll bring myself up. So it is good. Sometimes at the beginning of the show, I don't want to do it, but by the end of the show, I'm feeling better, because if you're trying to make other people happy, you got to be happy. Right. Yeah. Sorry, this is a long answer for that one.
No.
There's other sacrifices is, of course, it's a lot of time and practice and effort. And my body, mate, 41 years old, trust me, I'm glad, you're thinking, wow, this guy's fit. Look at that. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the image I need everyone to believe. But when I wake up in the morning and I go, man, I didn't stretch enough yesterday. I'm going to the chiropractor. I'm going to acupuncture.
Yeah.
If I get injured and I can't work for a week, my wife doesn't work, So that's it's scary. If I get hurt, it's a big problem.
It's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, I don't do the maintenance that I should. You ideally, in my ideal world, I'd wake up and I'd do yoga and I'd take my vitamins and I'd go to my show and I'd stretch out and I'd do everything right, but I can't always do that.
What you was talking about, this Instagram and social media culture before, I actually came across a video or a reel on your Instagram.
Just because you love something or you love what you do doesn't mean you love it 100% of the time. Sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes I don't feel like going out and trying to make people smile and make them laugh. And but I do it. I have to. It's my job. So I go out and I do it. And it always turns around. I get hundreds, thousands, or even 10 or 20, 50, however many people standing there smiling at me. And, can you imagine how that feels?
Which basically talks about this stuff that sometimes you don't feel like going.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is that on social media, we're often painted this picture where people turn around and say, well, do what you love as your job, then you will never feel like you'll have to work it ever again.
Yeah.
But there's Marcus sitting here saying, no, that's not how it works. I love what I do, but I still don't feel like doing it at sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're kind of contradicting their idea about this side hustle or love what you do and, that type of culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So on one hand, I do believe that saying, do what you love to do and you'll never have to work a day in your life. That's really romantic. And in a way it is true. I'm so happy that I do what I love to do. You know, if I don't feel like it, at least I'm doing it for me and I'm doing what I love to do, you know? So even if I don't feel like doing it, it's still something that I love to do, you know? And even though I don't necessarily love to do it every single day, there is, you know, I do believe in that. But also, there is the reality. You know, I think there's something, I will say this, now that I'm older and I have walked that path, now I look at the guy or person, woman, anyone who's got this nice job, you know, they might not necessarily have a passion for it, but let's say any job, IT, whatever, you're doing something and you're making good money from it. And it's not too much. You're doing it 9 to 5 or less. Maybe you only have to, maybe you work at the mines. Maybe you work at the mines and you work 1 week on, 1 week off, or 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or whatever you do. You got a job. It's fine. It's good. It pays well. And then you have these, you're able to afford this lifestyle to where you have all this time to pursue your hobbies and passions on the side. I think that's just, there's nothing better about, you know, I'm not above someone else because, I do what I love to do. Yeah. Whereas this other person does what they have to do to pay the bills. And then they also get to do what they love to do. And maybe they get to love what they do even more because there's not that pressure of having to do it, you know? Yeah. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I just think there's nothing wrong with having a job or a career that you aren't so in love with, you know what I mean? That's fine. But you got to find passion in your life somewhere, you know? Yeah.
So whatever works for you, I guess. Yeah. Something you said at the end of that video was when you make people, however you turn up, sometimes you just turn up even though you're not feeling like turning up 100% of the time, something like that, right? Yeah. And you turn up and you make them smile. Yeah. And you said right at the end, can you imagine how it feels?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Can you imagine, you know, I come out here, okay, I don't feel good, but I come out and I try to make 200 people smile and laugh. And then I get all these people. Imagine me, my job every day. I'm going to go to work after this. I guarantee you today, I'm going to have 600 people at some point in this evening looking at me and smiling. And like, you've just pushed this like energy, you know, I'm in the middle of this circle and all these people are just thinking, wow, or that's so nice, or that's amazing, something positive, you know, all these people most likely feeling some kind of positive feeling and focusing on me, you know, and
they're forgetting about what you know, may be going on.
And you know what? Some of the people, it's true. Some people go, he's up himself, or like, I could do that. And, you know, there's people, and, you know, you see it online. That sucks. Sometimes people post videos and you go through the comment. That's one reason I don't do social media. Like my wife is big on social media, but I can't do it because some of these videos go viral and a lot of people say really nice things, but then you go through and you look at the comments and some people just say horrible stuff. I'm not made for that. I can't handle that. When I'm in person, no one says anything mean to me. If anyone talks to me, they say something nice because no one's going to say something mean to your face, but they'll do it online. But back to the point, I don't know. It's a rush. It feels really good. You know, random people. I would never talk to this person. I would never talk to that person. You have all these different kinds of people from. They might be on vacation from any part of the world and different cultures and just I would never in my everyday life normally get the opportunity to go and connect with that person. But all of a sudden you have all these people smiling at you. It feels really good, but also I think it's like it's subconscious. Like it must be affecting me, you know, like you know, they do those experiments with like water. You take a glass of water and every day you say, you suck. And you know, take this glass of water and you go, you're beautiful. You know, it affects it, right? Take a plant and every day you say, you're a horrible plant. You know, it doesn't grow very well. So I think like, you know, you take this two people and like one person every day or every other day, you get people just smiling at them and going, wow, you're awesome. That was such a good show. That was so, thank you. You know, that's another thing. I say thank you over 100 times a day. You know, I'm just going, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It's so nice. Thank you. I also think that's got to be good for me.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
like,
feeling grateful.
yeah.
You know, you have this feeling of gratitude.
Yeah. So I'm being smiled at. People are saying nice things to me. People are clapping and cheering and like giving me good energy. And I'm going, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just think it's doing something. It's got to be doing something good.
Yeah. So it's like this positive energy is almost contagious.
Yeah.
They're giving it to you. You're giving it back to them. So it's like
You get what you give. It's really hard. So the bigger the audience and the more energy they have, the easier it is. If I've got a big reactive audience that's loving me, I can tell they're into it. They're connecting with me. They're giving me great energy. It feeds me. I'm like, I don't get tired. You know, I'm feeling like pumped up. But if I have a small audience or a really quiet audience or an audience that I'm really have to work hard, like, come on, guys. Like I'm trying to like lift them up, but it's like they're pushing me down and I'm like trying to lift them up and lift them up and lift them up. It's draining. It's really hard energetically to try to I'm one person trying to lift up 50, 100 people versus, you know, 50 or 100 people lifting me up as I'm lifting them up. It's, you get a different vibe, you know, different sometimes you can have a huge audience and whatever it is, the moon or the day or the economy or something, sometimes people are you get a big audience, same size audience. One of them might just be quiet. They won't laugh. They won't smile. They don't cheer except for the kids, you know, and then you get another audience that's tiny and they're just like, you can get 20 people giving you way more energy than you can get 100 people giving you. It just depends. But it is, the hardest shows are the most rewarding. When you have a big school holidays audience, it's very easy. They love you from the beginning. It's nice. It's great to do a good show, but it's more rewarding when you really have to work for it and you take these people and at the beginning, they're like this. And by the end, they're like, their energy has changed. It's really rewarding. Tougher shows are more rewarding in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That's a really beautiful thing, I think.
You feel like you accomplished something, you know?
Yeah. You said you're 41. So if you could go back and talk to your 16-year-old self, what would you say to him?
You know, I think that's part of the reason why I say what I say in my show is I would like to know that you can do whatever you want to do. You know, there's no obligation except for what you put on yourself. So, and also I would, you know, tell myself not to take life so seriously, you know, like, look, you can be successful, whatever that means, or you can have a good life, doing anything. You know, people are out there. Pet rocks were a thing, you know, like people are out, there's an infinite amount of ways to make money doing whatever I don't know. You could be like a grass specialist, you know, like, you know, everything about grass and like what different kinds of grass and where just lights, curtains, you could be the best curtain maker, like, or you could literally do anything and you can be successful if you like, you know, if you love it, it's easier and you put passion into it. So if believe in yourself, believe that you have the options, you know, try your best, you know, try fully. So I would tell myself, you know, whatever you're going to do, you can try lots of different things, but fully commit, you know, to each thing that you try. Yeah. And just try your best. Try to find things you love to do. Fully commit. Believe in yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself you know, because a lot of the pressure that we feel, I say, oh, my parents make me think I have to do this. And no, maybe they did, but it's you, right? You're feeling the pressure because of maybe what someone else said or something. And, you know, so yeah, you got to trust yourself.
To be honest, some of those parts sounded like you're talking to a 16-year-old Iqbal, to be honest. Yeah, so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. What is one question that you wish people asked you more often?
I don't know. What is one question I wish people asked me more? Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah. That's good. What?
I know it's a broad question, but it's sort of deliberately.
Yeah. I'll just start talking to get the mind rolling. I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of the same questions. Often I get, you know, how do you do that? You know, and I tell people, hey, just like anything else. So I'm out there with the circus and everything. When I go to the circus and you see someone doing this amazing thing and you go, that is a superhuman thing. That's not something that anyone can do. You're special if you can do that. But my mindset now is like, it's like anything else. I want to put out the image that I'm this superhuman person that can, like, no one can do this, but anyone can do it. Yeah. It's just practice. It's practice and commitment and time. So yeah, how do you do that from kids? You know, practice. Just practice like anything else. Just practice. I don't like people ask me like how much money I made, you know, or how much money did you make? How much money? I'm like, would you ask someone else that? You know, I'm on the street collecting money, so they think it's like, how much money did you make? I always just tell them, look, I make enough to support my family. That's,
and that's kind of a rude question anyway.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. It's kind of like,
that's why I didn't ask you that.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's nowhere here.
Yeah, I'm like, it's enough. I already told you how much I make. I already told you my wife doesn't work and I support my family. You know, but that's tough. What do I wish people ask me more?
So here's a question.
Here's a question that I think anybody could ask anybody more is like, how can I help? You know, but or what can I do? You know, but that would be awkward to ask me when I'm working on the street because I don't need help from like. Sometimes people come to see the show and they want to like help me, so they're like extra like. But I already know what I'm doing, and I haven't. If there's someone trying too hard, it throws it off.
I think something important I picked up there just quickly was that you said you see someone at the circus, for example, and then they are doing an acrobat or something like that, and you feel like, okay, well, with practice that can be done.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, does anything amazes you anymore?
Of course, yeah. Everything amazes me. Like everybody has some skill, you know what I mean? Even if it's like the receptionist at the dentist, you know, this kid's like really good at their job. You know, there's a lot more to it than I even know about, you know, or anything that accountant, I don't know how to do that. Or more obviously, you know, piano, guitar, singing. I can't sing for my life. I'm like, how do you control your voice like that? Like, is it something you can learn? Like, I know anyone, of course, you may have different physical things. Maybe not every single person in the world can learn how to do a backflip, but you can learn to do what you can do with your body, you know what I mean? Like for the most part, you know, I don't think even if I started now, some things just take so much time, or maybe, you know, maybe some things you really do have to start when you're young. Like, I don't think I could be a concert pianist, you know, within the next 10 years. But yeah, no, of course it all amazes me because now I know people have their skills, whatever they are. And it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah,
all of it.
I guess I'll just say thank you, not just only for coming here, but also for doing what you do, because I honestly feel that is so important for what you do. And like you said, we're all part of a really big but also small community at the same time. People need Marcus the Acrobats, you know, to entertain them, because everyone's carrying a lot of load, especially in 2026. So if you can put a smile on one person's face, I think you must feel like you've done your job. In your words, the world needs more artists.
Yeah.
The world needs all different type of people, because we're all part of the big community and we all need to fill in these different gaps.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, I don't say the world needs more artists. I say the world needs artists too, because it's not like, hey, we need more artists. Like, everyone's an artist, you know, and you can look at anything as art. But
True.
I think my thing is, like, the world needs all of us. Like, we need that barista or that person working at Macca's or whatever. Like, not one thing is better than the other thing. We're all together. We're all part of the puzzle.
Part of the ecosystem.
Yeah. I do wish more people had more luxury to be able to do art or treat what they're doing as art, you know? I think it is difficult these days to be an artist or think of yourself as an artist.
And for those reasons, even for those reasons, you know, that makes it even more, I guess, valuable in terms of what you're doing, because you're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because you know the reward might be not as big as somebody else. Yeah. Man, legend.
Thanks, Willa. Thank you.
What a pleasure. What an absolute pleasure.
All right. Yeah, that was good.